mean, you might have a hard time integrating it in your projects because of the string, but if you use a different string and you vary the holes, I'm sure you can for your project. So with this, I also, like John, used old paper and stuff because we don't want to waste. So this is all French folds. The folds are here and the spine is here. For this, you just need your inserts. And you need your two covers. The covers are also French folded. What I would recommend is after you assemble your books, say page 1, page 2, and 3, like your spreads are going to be laid out different when you print it, but after you print it and you have it cut, you should cut it all together. So what we like to do is we go to Kinko's. We go to Kinko's and we have, you make sure this is your straight edge, because since this is your folded edge, this should be your straight edge. They would put this side in the machine and they would cut the other two sides, so it's all the same. So you work with it from there. So you would align this side. This is not the spine, this is the open side. You align it. I guess it depends how thick your book is, but for a book this thick, I would clip it. But if it's something thinner, I would just staple it, to be honest. I would staple it and then hammer the back side of the staples. So you could measure your book and see where you want your holes to be. Basically, it's 4 holes, but you could add more holes, but it has to be an even number because there's a certain pattern that you'd have to do to loop the string around and through and stuff. So I did 4 holes, and I wouldn't recommend making it 1/2 inch like I did. It's not 1/2 inch. This is like 1.5 centimeters. I wouldn't recommend making it this far, but I did it for the sake of this demonstration. So you would use a tool. I still don't know what this is called. I've been asking everybody what is this called. People say hole maker or
Pricker.
hookah pricker. I don't know.
I think it's a technical term. I think it's a
Pricker?
marketing tool or-
Because when I think of prick, I think of something like, okay, anyways. So you'd have to prick it ahead of time. There are machines that'll screw, and like if your book is sticking up, like you're making a book like that, like they would in China or Japan, like you would probably screw it, but since it's just a project, you could just prick it with this. Besides this tool, you need a needle. This needle is a little thinner than this, and it has a big hole. Because for a project like this, you wouldn't want to use a small string. The small string would actually give more chances of the book tearing where the string is. Like it would serve as a area that holds it down, and you can just tear it. So it's not good. So that's why I'm using this big eye and this thick string. Okay, I'm sorry.
She just spit on the string.
Girl, I'm not gonna spit.
She did.
It's so embarrassing. I'm like a granny.
I'm not supposed to talk on this thing.
Okay, I think this is long enough. Yeah, you should always have your string, you should over measure your string. You shouldn't even measure string, you should just have a really long string, because I do this a lot at work, and a couple of times my string has been too short, and you get to the end, you're like, you have nothing else to do. Okay, so since this is your spine with the holes, you'd want to start on the side that's your back. So since I have it French folded, I would start here because I wouldn't want the end of my string to be sticking out here. Ooh, my hands are shaking. So you pull that through, and what you could do is you could put a piece of double stick tape, or, I mean, I've heard of people using Elmer's glue and stuff like that, but it takes a lot of cure, so I would just put double stick tape, Scotch band. So after it's through this stack, you run it back here. One thing I learned about using string like this is when you stick it through the hole for the second or third time, like it'll sometimes grab the middle, it'll go through the middle of the string, and then when you pull it, it doesn't look nice, like your string looks all torn. So you should, when you put your needle in the hole, you should rub against the edge of the hole. And you make it as tight as possible. And then from here, you go on to the side with one hole. And then you bring it back over and around.
So do you always do one side first and then go to the next side?
Yeah, like you usually start at the hole closest second to the edge. So if you have like 8 holes, you would still start hole 2,
Oh, okay.
and you go this side, and then you make your way back to this side. If you get lost, the important thing to remember is you always have to loop the spine first. It'll be a stronger hold rather than looping the edge first. So my string came out of here, so I would have to go back around, back in the same way. Yeah. That holds the edge of the book. So far we have half of the book done. From here, you would go back in this hole. You'll find that this hole is used the most. So you might want to pay special attention to it. You might want to make it bigger. And then here you go straight across to the immediate hole. And again, over the spine. And instead of going back and covering here, you just keep going towards the opposite side. That side will be covered in the end. And again, over the spine.
So it's always like across and then over,
Yeah.
across and then over.
And then when you hit the spine, you should go over first instead of going across first, because if you go across, it's not as tight. It'll get loose faster. Did you guys notice my needle's bent? I didn't make the holes bigger when I was practicing, so it was having a hard time. Like, I would recommend making it tight enough, but if it's too tight, you might tear your book, you might tear your string. I've torn my string once and it really sucked. Well, so it's just, I mean, once you do your first one, like, I too will have a diagram on the blog, but once you do your first one, it's pretty easy. You just follow the holes and you just make sure you go over, and then, like what Hinomi said, you go over and then you go around the spine and over and then around the spine. And this would be the last. And if you remember, this is the same hole we started with. So it's the tightest hole. People like to end it differently. Like at work, my boss says to loop it around, loop it through, and actually have a knot here in this little corner. But I don't really like that. So what I do is I put it, since it's French folded. I can take it apart. Since it's French folded, I just stick the end of the needle back in here and pull my string through. So it's kind of seamless, kind of. And then you can take another strip of double stick tape and tape it in there, push it, and then cut this out. So then it would be seamless. And that's it. We have samples over there with spines, but I've noticed that when you put a spine and then when you put a separate spine and then you put the binding over it, like it'll leave like an indentation if you make your string really tight. And I'm not sure if that's what you want, but I don't think it's aesthetically nice. But this is Japanese